Assalamu alaikum. First, I would like to thank Najmuddin very much for inviting me to this conference, important conference, and very timely conference. I think the issue of what is Islam and how Muslims understand their Islam at the turn of the 21st century increasingly becoming very crucial issues. Many Muslims are asking themselves today, what's Islam? Is it ISIS or Ghanouchi or maybe Qaradawi or many others schools and schools of thought? Here I would like to focus on one piece of Islam, the modern day Wahhabis, and I mean here the official Wahhabis, because there are unofficial Wahhabis or Shuyukh al-Sahwa will present a different view, and to try and to describe and analyze usul al-fiqh or legal theory and methodology used by them. And when talking about the official Wahhabis, we are talking mainly about two major institutions or ifta agencies. I'm sorry that I'm speaking in English because I don't know Turkish. I promise to try and learn. Okay, so the major or two important agencies, ifta agencies, or Dar al-Ifta actually, in Saudi Arabia. The first is the Board of Senior Ulama, hereafter BSU, or in Arabic, Hay'a Kibar al-Ulama, and the other, the Permanent Committee for Scientific Research and Legal Opinion, hereafter CRLO, or Lajnah Daima lil-Buhuth al-Ilmiyya wal-Ifta. Note that in Saudi Arabia, the BSU and the CRLO constitute the only two official institutions for issuing fatwas, led by the Grand Mufti, nowadays Sheikh Abdul Aziz Al Sheikh. These institutions sit atop of religious pyramid, providing the ultimate statements on Sharia. They serve to complement each other, so while the BSU issue official fatwas on major public issues, the CRO is responsible for conducting research, administrating private fatwa, and providing administrative support by the BSU. Considering the close historical relationship between the Wahhabis and the Hanbali madhab, as manifested inter alia in the fact that they later became the official madhab in Saudi Arabia, I shall argue that in principle, contemporary Wahhabis remain faithful to the tenets of Hanbalism by privileging adherence to the text and to the transmitted tradition, naql over reason up. This is manifested in the status they assign to the Quran and to the prophetic traditions, the Sunnah. It's evident, however, that Wahhabis now go beyond Hanbalism, drawing legal inspiration not only from their Hanbali intellectual forebears, but also from a wide array of non-Hanbali traditions and schools, Turat al-Islami. Moreover, Wahhabi jurisprudence breaks from the classical Hanbali legal epistemology of Ibn Taymiyyah and his disciples. This is manifested especially in, first, restricting the practice of ijtihad to qualified scholars. Second, endorsing taqleed for those unqualified to investigate the sacred text. And third, identifying public interest, maslahah, in accordance with the five objective maqasid of the Sharia. Saudi support for inter-madhab interpretation appears as early as the establishment of the modern Saudi legal system. Some scholars used to argue that it's a new phenomenon. I think we can find it even in 1927. For example, when King Abdul Aziz ibn Saud, the founder of modern Saudi Arabia, made the following statement about the Sharia courts. Quote, what school of law should it follow? It's not restricted by any particular madhab. Rather, it decides according to what appears to be applicable for any of the madhabs. and there is no difference between one and the other. He continued this line of thought in a public address in 1934, quote, "Who obey neither Ibn Abdul Wahhab nor any other person unless what they say is clearly endorsed by God's book and the prophetic Sunnah. God made us, me, my fathers and my ancestors, preachers and teachers, according to the Quran and the Sunnah. Wherever we find strong evidence, dalil, in any of the four madhabs, we refer to hold to it. Otherwise, whenever strong evidence is lacking, we adopt the opinion of Imam Ahmad." He means Ibn Hanbal. Unquote. The reform of February 2009, by which 3 new representative religious scholars from the Hanafi, Maliki and Shafi'i school of law, madhab, were appointed as members of the Board of Senior Ulama, Hayat Kibar Ulama, seems to be a culmination of the Saudi acknowledgement of the 4 Sunni school of law. The modern Wahhabi tolerance toward the other 3 Sunni madhabs is evidenced in frequent references to the 4 madhabs in their fatwas, in the teaching in mosques and universities, and in the republication of Wahhabi literature. For the Lajna, the CRO, just 4 madhabs represent different methodologies of argumentations for understanding the sacred sources. They reject fidelity to a specific madhab, arguing that there is no reason for a Muslim to be constrained by a particular set of determination, what scholars used to call Ahmadhabism. That is, if a creative interpreter discovers the validity of an opinion found in another madhab, he is not bound by the concrete opinion of his own madhab. With respect to a specific legal matter, it's not appropriate to prefer one madhab over another, if the position of the other madhab is more just. An interpreter should always strive to attain justice for its own sake. Therefore, the seeker of justice, although he identified himself with a particular school, legal school or madhab, must turn to another madhab and adopt its views when that legal opinion seems more solid and better suited to his specific case. Nevertheless, a person may subscribe to a particular madhab in order to benefit from its legal methodology, principles and guidelines. However, one should not accept an imam's view axiomatically, since none of the 4 imams limited his followers to his own madhab. And I would like to recall Shafi'i paraphrase that Qawli, that I'm trying to cite the exact citation of Shafi'i, but I missed it. It means that I accept the other opinion since I believe that قولي صحيح يحتمل الخطأ وقول غيري خطأ يحتمل الصحة. That means it's an Islamic pluralistic approach that I accept, I do accept the other. It's not a ta'assub للرأي in Arabic. They all adhere to the classical text, seeking to act in accordance with the Quran and the Sunnah, without viewing their own decisions as sacrosanct. According to the Lajna, the CRO, the one thing that all the madhabs have in common is their shared sense of inferiority with respect to primary textual sources of Islamic law, or in the words of the CRO jurist code, the founders of the madhab are the followers of the Prophet and not vice versa, unquote. That is, the Mufti must base his opinion on solid evidence. Quote again, the committee CRO methodology of issuing fatwa must be based on solid evidence. They are all the time talking about the dalil. They care about the dalil, not any other thing. whether it stems from the four madhab or not. It does not confine itself to a specific madhab. Sheikh Ibn Baz, he was the Grand Mufti until his death in 1999, noted, quote, "It's not important whether a fatwa is issued by one Mufti or a group of Muftis. What is important is the evidence and its degree of relevance to the fatwa." Unquote. He adds that in cases of scholarly disagreement, اختلاف الفقهاء, a Mufti can act in the following manner. Quote, "One should determine the preponderance, the tarjih, as indicated by the evidence, whether it conforms the Hanbali madhab or not, since one must follow the truth, as understood in the Quranic verse 499, O ye who believe, obey Allah and obey the Messenger and those charged with authority among you. If you differ in anything among yourself, refer to Allah and His Messenger. That is best and most suitable for a final determination." Unquote. أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. Note that for contemporary Wahhabis, the Hanbali madhab is generally favored as a method of argumentation, especially in case of legal disagreement, because the Hanbalis, perhaps more than any other three Sunni madhabs, remain closest to the original sources, to the Nas, that means the Quran, the Sunnah, and the traditions agreed upon by the companions, Sahaba of the Prophet. This is clearly indicated by the extensive use of these textual sources and methodology adopted by the CRO jurists. Now let's turn to the Usul al-Fiqh. Firstly, an overview the classical Hanbali approach to Usul al-Fiqh. In his Imam al-Muwaqqi'in Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah listed Ibn Hanbal's Usul as follows. First, the text of the Quran and the Sunnah. Second, the companions, Sahaba, legal opinions, Fatawa. Third, in the event of disagreement between the companions, the Sahaba, the view closest to the Quran and the Sunnah. Fourth, certain weak, da'if, or weakly attested, mursal hadiths. And lastly, sound analogy, qiyas sahih, but only when no other solution exists. The first two usul are text from the Quran or the Hadith. If such texts provide the answer, there is no need to turn elsewhere. The third source suggests following the consensus, ijma', of the companions and the path of least deviation from the textual sources. As for qiyas, it may be applied only as a last resort. As for contemporary Wahhabis, they seem to depart, at least literally, from the classical text-based Hanbali usul and accept the pattern prevailing elsewhere in the Muslim world: Quran, Sunnah, Ijma' and Qiyas. A CRO fatwa stated, quote, "The rules of the Sharia are based on the text of the book and the Sunnah of the Prophet, and whoever combines them based on consensus, ijma' and sound analogy, qiyas sahih. For CRO, the Quran is not only the highest source of Islamic law, but also a constant source of inspiration, unlimited in scope." Unquote. According to Ibn Baz, the Quran is an eternal constitution appropriate for any time and place, لكل زمان ومكان. And as such, it contains the basic principles of Islamic law and provides the ultimate platform for developing legal and moral norms. These principles, which are universal in nature, apply to all human beings, regardless of a person's religion, ethnicity, or race. Regarding Quranic exegesis, tafsir, CRO acknowledged tafsir bil-athar, which relies predominantly on transmitted material, rather than tafsir bil-ra'i, which relies on independent thought and the application of rational opinions, as being most appropriate for understanding the Quran. The best tafsir of the Quran is by the Quran itself, the Sunnah and the prophetic Sahaba. That is, exegesis or tafsir must rely solely on the Quran, the Sunnah, or Salafi traditions. According to Shia law, independent tafsir is prohibited by the Prophet in the hadith. He who gives his own interpretation of the Quran will be in hellfire. Therefore, Shia law prefers the exegesis by Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, Jami' al-Bayyan fi tafsir al-Quran, and Ibn Kathir tafsir, both examples of tafsir bil-athar. A fatwa issued by Shia law states the most appropriate books for Quranic exegesis are those of Ibn Jarir al-Tabari and Ibn Kathir and other books of tafsir bil-athar, which were written in simple language, producing the truth meaning of the Quran closer to the Sharia's intentions, based on hadith and solid traditions. Notably, the Shia law rejects the new trend in modern tafsir. Okay, I will try. In modern tafsir ilmi, scientific, i.e. an analytical interpretation of the Quran based on modern empirical scientific foundation. According to Shia law, such tafsir is nothing but a distortion of real meaning of the Quran, since in due course it becomes subordinating to baseless scientific theories. Shia law jurists also place a great emphasis on the Sunnah, extending its validity to a wide range of issues. They identify the Sunnah as the life model of the Prophet Muhammad, articulated in his first utterances, aqwal, deeds, fi'l, silence, sukut, and personal traits, khulq. The first three are derived from the prophetic social activities and moral instruction as judge and head of state, while the fourth is derived from his private life, which serves as a living example, a role model for the Prophet's conduct of Muslim daily life, e.g. how to address and eat. Shia law jurists identify the Sunnah as both a legal and a moral source. Muslim scholars disagree about whether to consider a binding both aspects of Muhammad's legacy or just those instructions of a legal nature. For Shia law, both are binding, albeit not as legal norms but as guidelines for correct behavior. Joyce considers the Sunnah to be divinely inspired wahy. The Prophet is reported to have said, I have received the Quran and all that is seminal to it, that means. Shia law also draws upon other traditions, such as Umar ibn Khattab letter to Al-Shurayh, in which he wrote, quote, judge by what is in God's book. If you don't find it in explicit ruling, then judge by the Sunnah of His Messenger. If you do not find a solution there, then judge by the judgment of the worthy who have preceded you and by what the people approve unanimously. Unquote. Shia law follows the traditional Wahhabi trend by holding the Sunnah to be an extension of the authority of the Quran as based on divine witnesses. So take what the messenger assigned to you and deny yourself what is without from you. They hold the Sunnah in high regard as the key understanding the Quran. Authentic Sunnah can never contradict the Quran. Jews tend to consider Hadith as authorized and valid as long as the chain transmitter isnad is authentic. The Hadith must be accepted, whether isnad is transmitted along multiple paths, mutawatir, solitary, ahad, widespread, mashhur, or mustafid, or strange, rare, gharib. Ibn Baz asserted that scholars sometimes differ in their evaluation and application of certain hadith, i.e. particular hadith may be considered mutawatir by one scholar but not by another. Some scholars may consider a specific informative hadith based on 5, 7, 8 or even 10 transmitters as mutawatir and more authentic than another less informative hadith based on 20 transmitters because it lacks conclusive knowledge. In the worldview of both Shia law and BSU, the Sunnah is second only to the Quran as an authoritative source. The Sunnah is applied in all three of its traditionally defined functions in relation to the Quran: to confirm mu'akkida, what is the Quran; to clarify, elaborate, mubayyina, what is in the Quran; finally, as independent source, they establish Bunshia legal norms regarding matters in which the Quran is silent. And this is the most important function for them. Finally, Sunnah Bunshia relates to rules mentioned in the Quran and elaborate on the Sunnah, e.g. prescribed number of daily prayers like zakat, fasting, siyam, pilgrimage, hajj, and the punishment of capital crimes. In regard to ijma', I need more 5 minutes. Okay. In regard to ijma', CRO follows in the footstep of Ibn Taymiyyah, who recognizes only consensus of the Salafi predecessors. According to Ibn Taymiyyah, a valid ijma' has not been established since early Islam because later Muslim scholars are numerous and widely disparate, making it difficult to ascertain the existence of consensus. He used to cite Ibn Hanbal, who said that who claimed for consensus is a kafir, is a liar. If ijma' means the unanimous agreement of all Muslim Jews without exception, then it's impossible to attain under these circumstances. As a result, a few cases of true ijma' exist. Thus, he refuted the common assumption that most of the problems of Islamic law are dealt with through ijma'. Faithful to Ibn Taymiyyah definition of ijma', CRO acknowledges only consensus by the Prophet's companions as the most valid source after the Quran and the Sunnah. Consider the following fatwa by CRO. Quote, ijma' is one of 3 fundamental usul that must be obeyed. Quran, authentic Sunnah, Sunnah Sahihah, and ijma' of this Salaf. From among the Muslim Sahaba, the Prophet Sahaba, since dispute became widespread after them among the later generations, as propounded by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah and other scholars. Unquote. Accordingly, CRO rejects the notion that a decision taken by Islamic legal academies, Majma' al-Fiqh al-Islami, or by any other contemporary Islamic legal body constitutes consensus. No consensus in modern times for the Wahhabis. In any event, ijma' should be supported by a text from authentic hadith, and this text should be known at least some of the scholars participating in the consensus. That is, a consensus should never contradict a text, nor should the hadith be provided simply as proof or an opinion after that fact, since consensus must follow the text and not vice versa. To conclude, I would say that in principle, contemporary Wahhabis still prefer adherence to the sacred textual sources and to transmitted traditions, favoring naql over aql in accordance with the Hanbali tenets. This is manifested in the extensive use and understanding of the Quran and the Sunnah. Official Wahhabi Jews acknowledge tafsir bil-athar, which relies predominantly on transmitted material, as most appropriate for interpreting the Quran, while rejecting tafsir ilmi, scientific tafsir, or analytical interpretation of the Quran based on modern empirical scientific foundations. Wahhabi legal theory seems to depart from the classical Hanbali traditions, however, at least in the following legal areas. First, limiting the practice of ijtihad to qualified scholars only. Second, endorsing taqlid for those unqualified to investigate the sacred text. Third, identifying public interest maslaha in accordance with the 5 objective maqasid of the Sharia. Modern Wahhabis view of these 3 legal areas appear to differ significantly from those by Ibn Taymiyyah, who permitted ijtihad even by soldiers and laymen. Contemporary Wahhabi Jews reserve the practice of ijtihad for qualified scholars and define the objective of the Sharia by means of tangible criteria. In these areas, modern Wahhabis to be beyond Hanbalism, drawing their legal inspiration not only from their Hanbali intellectual forebears, but also from a wide array of non-Hanbali scholars belonging to different madhabs. These transformations within contemporary Wahhabi legal theory were motivated, I believe, by the desire of fostering the religious authority of the official religious establishment and to further developing legal mechanisms in accordance to challenge or to accommodate some challenge of modernity. That is, by confining ijtihad to qualify scholar on one hand and allow taqlid for layman on the other, Wahhabis sought to solidify the status of this institution, their institution. Significantly, maslaha seemed to have been accepted as a fundamental mechanism for attaining the five objectives of the Sharia: the preservation of religion, life, property, progeny, and reason. The identification of maslaha with these objectives may have enabled legal pragmatism to exist in the face of challenge posted by the modern era. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Muhammad Atawneh, for your provoking speech. Şimdi bir iki soru alalım. Süreyi biraz aşıyoruz.
Bu konuşmalarda, bu sempozyumda Türkiye tecrübesinden çok da bahsetti. Osmanlı yaptıklarda bulundu. Son mecelleden de var. Mecelle hazırlanırken çekilen sıkıntılar, Hanefi mezhebine münhasır kalması, terkip meselesinin ne kadar problemli olduğu. Bir taraftan da eğer bunlar bu şekilde yapılsaydı belki büyük bir mukavemetle karşılaşılacaktı. Sosyal barışını bozabilecekti. Muhtemelen böyle mülahazalar sebebiyle de mecellede terkip konusu bile problem haline geldi. Suudi Arabistan tecrübesi, yani Selefi geleneğin tecrübesi, belki dönüşümü diye söyleyebiliriz. Devletin bu sefer ideal bir Hanbeli ya da Selefi fıkıh anlayışını devletin yapması gereken vazifelerden olan toplumu düzenleme vazifesini yerine getirirken toplumun ihtiyaçları, yapılabilirlikler veya bütün yani uluslararası ilişkilerin de vasıtasıyla aslında farklı bir, daha yumuşak bir mezhep anlayışına dönüştüğünü görüyoruz. Benim merakım şu, Osmanlı'da mecellede böyle bir dönüşüm hızlı bir şekilde olabilmiş olsaydı belki farklı bir dünyayla karşılaşacaktık. Biz özellikle kendi coğrafyamız açısından. Suudi Arabistan'da bu teşebbüs, bu kanun, hukuki teşebbüs hem insanların dini hayatında hem de ulemanın İslam'la olan, gelenekle olan ilişkisi bağlamında bir probleme yol açtı mı? Yoksa sizin açınızdan işler iyi mi gidiyor? Yani aslında evet, yine de Selefi bizim açımızdan buradan baktığımız zaman belki eleştirebileceğimiz yine katı gördüğümüz bir takım uygulamalar olmakla birlikte orada yürüyen bir hukuki sistem var. Hatta bazı konularda yani manevi tazminat vesaire bu tür konularda bizim şu anda tartıştığımız bazı meselelerin orada daha geniş bir çerçevede fıkıh anlayışıyla daha rahat bir şekilde çözüldü. Hatta bugün bu tartışmaları yaparken biz o tür çözümlere atıfta bulunabileceğimiz bir duruma geldiğini görüyoruz. Yani oradaki İslam hukuku tecrübesini siz dışarıdan genel olarak İslam hukukunun modern dönemde yorumlanması ve tatbiki, kanuni sistem haline gelmesiyle ilgili bu tecrübeyi nasıl değerlendiriyorsunuz?
Thank you for this interesting comment and question. Midawar Rashid, scholar, in her recent book contesting the Saudi state, argued that in Saudi Arabia we can find two types of socio-cultural system, even political system. On one side it's a very religious and the other is secular. I wouldn't say that, but no doubt that in terms of religion and transformations in the Wahhabi legal thought, we can find very significant transformations of adopting norms, legal norms, legal religious norms, because in Saudi Arabia, as a theocracy, we are talking about only religious law, to the reality, the social reality. This begins in the 70s, especially in the 70s, under Faisal, King Faisal. And there are some scholars who noticed that in their research, like Aaron Leish, Frank Vogel, and others, that for that they identify this process as certain moderation of Wahhabism, different, especially in the daily life matters. That's true. I do agree with that. What is clear in the results or the outcomes of this process, that while the Saudis or the modern Wahhabi fiqh is moving in certain areas, especially in political areas, something related to governments, to the conduct of the foreign affairs or financial issues. For example, they are silent in regard to banks based on riba. When Ibn Baz asked by one student, what do you think, Sheikh, on the banks based on riba in this country? His answer was, my dear student, such questions should not be asked. So, from one side, they show certain pragmatism, but again, especially those issues related to the state and foreign affairs, but they still very rigid and very, conservatives in regard of some socio-cultural areas, especially in regard to women and the interrelationship between both, in gender issues. So we can find very, more than one face of the Wahhabi fiqh today. This transformation manifested also in the usul al-fiqh themselves. They are not totally Hanbalis today. We can find some Hanafi, some Shafi, some Maliki teachings within modern writings or modern fatwas by the official ones.